Hey guys, welcome back to another video. The third round of prisoner swap between Israel and Hamas took place yesterday, and I wanted to have a comment on the statements that were released from the Palestinian prisoners and my comment on the Israelis being released. Why did I say just the Palestinian prisoner statements? Well, it's because they were the ones who were allowed to speak after they reached home because they're from the Palestinian side, whereas the Israeli prisoners were banned by the Israeli government and threatened not to speak with any media and not to hold any press conferences. Why did they do that? Well, they did it primarily because of the damage that the previous Israeli prisoners said and did when they were released. Mainly, Yocheved Lifshitz, who said about how well treated she was during her imprisonment with Hamas. She was there for 2 weeks. And it made massive headlines, although many media outlets and mainstream media tried to spin it the other way. So they told all of their prisoners, threatened them, you cannot speak to any media outlets, you cannot hold any press conferences. So what did the Palestinians say? Well, many things, many shocking things to many people, really. Firstly, all of these people who were released are children, most of them under the age of 17. Some of them were in prison since the age of 12. One of them was imprisoned by Israel when he was 5 years old, then released, then put in prison again. When he was telling his story, his father said that when he was 5 years old, his father was being beaten. He was from occupied Jerusalem. The kid was in shock because his father was beaten. The Israeli forces started beating the child and put him in prison. Then they later put him in prison for made-up charges, interrupting security, throwing rocks, or whatever it is, despite the fact that he was a minor. What did he say about his time in prison? And this was the same thing that all prisoners repeated. He said that since, obviously, there's systematic abuse in prisons, and things have been tougher on Palestinian prisoners since the Minister of Interior Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, came to power. He basically authorized the prison authorities to take a harsher stance against Palestinian prisoners, something which they admitted. What did they do to them? Well, after the 7th of October, they cut them off completely from the outside world. They went into their rooms, took all of their belongings, not allowed them to speak with anyone. They didn't know about what happened. They only knew when people came to visit them. They starved them, beat them, haven't allowed them to change their clothes for 1 month. One of the people released, one of the children released, said that up until the moment he was released, all of his clothes were filled with blood because of how much they hid them. Sleep deprivation, starvation. There used to be 80 people in one of the statements that the boy said, and I can share links for any of you who would like to translate them. Al Jazeera and Al Arabi reported and spoke with many of them directly and with their families. He said that for 80 people, they used to go in the prison and give them 50 potatoes to share between all of them. 2 loaves of bread for 8 people. Hardly any water. If they wanted to have a shower, that's before the 7th of October, they used to give them this much shampoo for 1 week. Swearing at them, hitting them, starvation. Another thing that they did is they actually killed multiple Palestinian prisoners because of the abuse. 4 people in Megiddo prison, or Megiddo in Hebrew, and 1 in the Negev prison, Sijn al-Naqab in Arabic. How did they die? From abuse. They hit them to death. And some of them were beaten so bad and left alone one of the guys was saying, because he simply asked a question. He said, is there a ceasefire? They told him to shut up. One guy came in, beat the living daylight out of him, and he laid there dying for 1.5 hours before receiving any medical attention. 5 people died, killed, murdered in cold blood in Israeli prisons because of systematic abuse that's coming directly by the authority and orders of the government. These things have been happening for 75 years now. They're coming to light because of the ceasefire and because of the prisoner swap. And it's very important for people to know and be aware of this, because we're seeing the typical stuff from the hypocrite Zionist mainstream media about the Israeli hostages being released, you know, clips of 5 seconds. Oh, cute, how lovely is that? Obviously, it's beautiful for anyone to be released, but they're blind onto what's happening on the other side. Have you seen any media outlets or any media news network speaking with the Palestinian prisoners? Have you seen them? Waiting for them, asking them about their experience? No one did. 78 Palestinian prisoners were released, women and children under the age of 17, most of them. Some of them have been in prison for multiple years over the most rubbish charges, and most of them forced to admit to things that they haven't done under systematic abuse through terrorizing them. Whereas on the Israeli side, we've seen pictures again of people being released from Hamas, smiling, saying goodbye to them, waving, they're hugging them. And obviously Israel is banning them from speaking with the media because they know what they're going to tell them. They're going to tell them the same things that Yocheved Lifshitz said, that they treated us nicely, that they said that we're guests, that we received medical care, that we were told that we're not going to be harmed, and that we're doing this to get our prisoners and get our rights, and you will be released. And so they were being reassured during the captivity of Hamas, yet they were being systematically abused by Israel. These things are very important because no one is going to tell you them on the BBC, no one is going to tell you them on Sky News. Piers Morgan is definitely not going to say it. So I just wanted to highlight this very quickly and also mention that the threats that Israelis have been receiving is extended to their family members as well. The prisoner families. So they're not just allowing the people who were released from Hamas captivity in Gaza, but their families. If they dare say something or go on the media or whatever it is, that they will be punished. They can either be fined or imprisoned, because to them, they're threatening their security and ruining their image across the world. So the same Israeli victims are suffering from the Israeli government and from the Israeli system because they're not even allowing them to do basic human rights. They're not giving them basic human rights, basic rights to speak, express what they went through, speak to the media, share to the world what's been happening to them, so that we're more aware of the situation, you know, and not just hearing what the official narrative is. I thought I'd share this video with you very quickly because I know that, you know, you're not going to find this anywhere else. And if anyone is interested in any particular links, I'd be more than happy to share them. Thank you.